Have you ever experienced the lights flickering for no reason at all? Or do you hear knocking in the house when nobody is there, maybe creaking in the floorboards? Could these events be physical communication from spirit? Hello, this is Angelscapes, and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. And joining me is Lisa Mandell, who is a medium, a psychic, a Reiki practitioner. She's from West Pittston, Pennsylvania. She started leading a guided meditation during her freshman year in college to help people find peace and balance. And she continues to lead guided meditations. And we'll talk more about her center in her new center. She is a master table tipper. That's what I learned from her. She was at Lilydale. I studied with her at Lilydale this past summer. Just amazing stuff. She taught a spirit photography. So we'll talk a little bit about that and everything that influences her and how does she get here to do all this stuff when she going from let's everybody be peace and calm to hearing spirits make noise and talk to her. So welcome, Lisa, to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Nancy. It's so good to be here with you.
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
So when we first met, you were the teacher and I was part of a huge group. So, you had a wonderful presentation on table tipping, and then we moved on to spirit photography, and then we moved on to pendulum, I think we worked with. So I know you love them all, but I think table tipping is one of your favorites.
Absolutely. Table tipping is my absolute favorite. I was first introduced to it in a way totally different from how I use it now when I was studying at the Spirit Education Center and Sanctuary in the Poconos. And in their center, what we did was we had some music playing. We got the vibrations up really loud. Everybody had their hands lightly on the table, and the table started moving, and then the table started dancing around the room, and we were just chasing the table all around the room. And I thought that was the only way that table tipping was done. I had no idea about the history of table tipping or the connection with specific individual spirits. I just thought, spirit in general was moving the table. And when I started practicing myself in another center, we were doing table tipping one night, and one of the people there said, "I see my grandmother sitting in the center of the table." And I was like, "Really? Let's see if we can talk to her. Let's see if she can give us, answers to these specific questions." And that's when I learned that, yes, that's exactly what they can do. And as I started studying it more, I learned that's what we used to do with it. We would connect with a certain specific spirit and be able to make that connection, to be able to get answers to questions, to be able to give more proof of the continuity of life and existence and consciousness after the transition that we call death. And it was amazing.
How did the table communicate to you from a specific spirit? Did it rock a certain way, or what?
It would lean to the left for yes and lean to the right for no.
Okay.
So, and if it didn't have a yes or no answer to it, it would either stay completely still or it would just start shaking back and forth. It's like, okay, so you've either asked a complex question, a compound question that's not like a yes, no answer, or you've asked a question that they don't want to answer.
Okay, all right.
Best thing though was when we realized that the table could give a hug.
I love those
So
hugs.
when your hands are all, lightly on the table, and all of a sudden the table just leans into somebody and just holds, on 1 foot or one tiny part of 1 foot. I mean, you can't make a table do that on purpose. And to get it to hold there, as people with their hands on top of the table, you can't do it. Spirit's the only one who can do that.
Oh,
And it's just an amazing experience.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I sit with a table tipper who did the alphabet. Have you ever done the alphabet?
Yeah, that takes a really long time.
Does.
One of the things that I've done is I had a friend of mine build a specific table for me that has like a lazy Susan top on it, so
Okay.
that it can spin, the top can spin more easily. And what's really great about it with working with a medium is when the spirit comes in and is communicating with us, we get beyond the yes, no answers. There's information that they want to share. And you as the medium bring that information into the people you're working with. And here's the best and the worst part of it for the medium. When you're right, the table says yes, and it spins in the direction of yes. And the more emphatic it spins, the stronger the yes is. But if you misinterpret the information you're getting, it'll go no. And you have to stop, and it's like, okay, where did I get off the path? How did I misinterpret that? Where am I going wrong? And I mean, they tell you instantly, no, that's not what I meant.
Wow, wow, wow. Yeah. I
So
love
you got to be able to take a no, not just from the person across from you, but from spirit,
it.
and then say, okay, wait, and not just say, okay, I've got it wrong. I've got to stop now. You've got to be able to say, okay, I've made a mistake somewhere in here. Let's go back. I said this, is this correct? And the table will say yes or no. Is this correct? Yes or no? And then when you get back on it, it's like, okay, so this was where I was incorrect. Yes, okay. So this is what you were trying to say. Yes. And then it's like, okay, we're back on the same path.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
It's a terrifying and rewarding thing all in the same second.
Oh my gosh. Humbling, I bet.
Yes.
But that sounds amazing. Yeah, I wish we had done a little bit more of that. I suppose you could spend a whole week on just table tipping, but
Yeah.
experimenting and stuff. We did all kinds of tables. I think we used your table, but then we used plastic tables that just went back and forth, and some of them flipped themselves over and upside down.
And go up to the ceiling, and your hands are like this and it's pushing up against you, and you're like, okay, maybe we should bring our hands over to the other side just so it doesn't fall. If spirit, let's go. And it
Yeah,
just keeps going.
it's amazing. That is amazing. So this spirit is it's spirit. What's we talked about this. What is moving the table? You said spirit, but is it the spirit? Is there a different spirit in the table, or is it actually just spirit, like your grandfather's coming in and moving the table?
Okay, these are just my beliefs. I
Okay.
believe when you use something like a wooden table,
Mhm.
the table itself has an energy within it, a spirit within it, the spirit of the tree that it came from.
Okay.
That spirit acts as the gatekeeper. So when your grandmother comes in, your grandmother's sitting there, it's like, okay, we've got this thing here, I don't know how to use it. And the spirit of the table will teach the spirit, your grandfather or your grandmother or whomever comes in, how to use the table. And the
Oh,
reason I really like the table that I've created is because it makes it easier for first-time users to be able to get movement out of it and to be able to get answers out of it. I don't know if you've noticed when you first use, a resin table or even just a regular table, a coffee table or a side table, you got to sit there for a little while for the energy to build and for them to be able to make movements in it.
yeah. Gary did that. And I have a table at home that I sit with and fill. It's a little bit neglected right now, but to do table tipping, I would fill it or just sit and put my hands on it and just sit in the power and until it was ready to come out and talk with people. So that was something I was wondering about, who's filling this table up and then who's talking through it. And it's a lovely, a really physical way of communicating through spirit. And how did you get into table tipping? How did you find out about it?
Well, like I said, I was taking classes at the Spirit Education Center and Sanctuary in the Poconos. And Gloria Wykind was the person who was leading it. And Gloria would bring in different people from Lilydale to teach a bunch of different classes, which is where I got the idea. And she would also introduce us to different tools that you can use, from
So what,
table tipping to pendulums to cabinet.
okay, oh, we should talk about the cabinet too. That's pretty amazing. Table tipping was one of the many tools that you learned, but then sounds like you took to it pretty well, that you
Yeah,
liked
and
it.
that's one of the things that I thought was really good about the workshop season that we had, the preseason workshop we had last year, was it gave people an opportunity to try out a bunch of different tools and a bunch of different modalities to find out which one resonated best with them. So
Right.
I can use a pendulum, but I really enjoy using the table.
Oh, so cool. So cool. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love your table. You had said that you had a person that made one especially for you. It was a fellow, I don't know where he is, but does he make tables for people, or was that just one off for you?
He makes all sorts of amazing things. He's an absolute craftsman. He's made a couple other tables for other people who've seen mine and said, "Ooh, I want one like that too,"
Yeah.
and ships them all over the country. One of the things I think that makes mine extra special is in the top of the table, I have some apports from Bill Bolt
Yep.
that were apported in my seance room. So that brings his energy into the table, I think, as well, plus the energy of our seance room. Um, and it just kind of brings all of that energy together and makes it a little bit more responsive, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Um, so what is your next favorite physical medium?
Well, wait, before we leave that, so I
Yeah.
have a friend named Kim who
Yep.
has a wonderful shop called Phoenix Lane. And every couple of months we have a tea, tarot, and table tipping session. And we just had one last month. We're gonna have another one next month where people come in and she throws this lavish tea party with all these wonderful things to eat. And there's one room where people can go in and have a tarot reading. But what we do is we bring them in groups of 4 or 5 around a table that her husband built for this. And actually it was her grandmother, I think's dining room table that they modified to be like my table. So we all sit around the table and everybody puts their hands on, and we start with getting a, please show us what means yes, please show us what means no. And then it's like, I'm really bad with names. So it's like, okay, person 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you here to, the first person who's coming in, please come in and take control of the table. Are you here for person number 1? And it'll give you a yes or a no. Are you here for person number 2? And sometimes you get a reading for everybody around the table. And sometimes it's like one person has so many people who need to come forward right now and talk to them because they're going through something or they've just gone through something. And, they all come in. But what was incredible with the last one that we just did was somebody didn't have a whole lot of people in spirit that they knew, um, but really missed their dog. And I
Oh,
had no idea. I don't know any of these people. They just kind of show up and their dog came in and, the tail was wagging and there wasn't a whole lot of message other than I really love you still. But that was amazing.
oh, I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I love it when the pets come in. They're
Yeah.
so caring and we miss them so much. Oh, that's beautiful. Um, that is so cool. So you have graduated on to becoming one heck of a teacher and you've been traveling all over. Let's talk a little bit about Starlight Academy for Metaphysical Studies. You call it the SAMS. The SAMS. You just opened it recently, right?
Right. We opened in August. I was very fortunate that our friend Dr. Susan Barnes agreed to come and help me with my opening weekend.
Oh, no.
And she did art and intuition. So there was a demonstration of mediumship with, I am just absolutely in awe with what you do and what she does, where you can connect with spirit and then draw the picture of the person that you're connected with. And so you're not just telling me you've got my grandmother, I see my grandmother on the sheet that you've done. And Susan came in and did that. How do you do that?
Just it's practice and connecting in with the guides and just letting them take over. Susan has an art flair too. I think and I had been studying art for quite a while before I even got into mediumship, and I feel like there's just a connection anyway when you're being artistic. There's a spirit, your own higher spirit, your own self. And so that just kind of, when I started to stumble upon mediumship and work on it, I said, there's no reason why I can't draw these people. So I did that. But I'm
That's
so
amazing.
Barnes came. Yeah, we're all gonna do another um preseason week for called Body, Mind, and Soul Psychic Sampler. Is that what
Yeah, it's our psychic sampler, June 15th through the 19th up at Lilydale.
Yeah, I think it's already up on their Dale website. But Susan's the lead of it. She's bringing in you and some paranormal investigators. She's bringing me in. I'm gonna do some spirit art and soul art, and then she's bringing in another woman, Aurora. I don't know who. Could you tell me who the other person is coming in?
I
Daryl,
don't know her. I do know the investigators, Wyoming Valley Ghost Tours. I work with them a lot here in
oh,
the Wyoming Valley. They're an amazing group of people. They do tours to different places, like they have generic tours like New York City and Christmas Village and things like that. But they also have tours to places like Gettysburg. And when you go, we just went on one last month to Sleepy Hollow, and they have special tours set up for you when you get to these different places. But the main thing that they do is they do psychic investigations, public psychic investigations
okay.
of different historical places in the Wyoming Valley and northeastern Pennsylvania, and they're expanding more into, a little bit of New Jersey, New York, further down south into Pennsylvania, where you show up at the venue and they explain a little bit about the history of the place, the equipment that you're going to be using, and then they break you up into teams, and each team goes to a specific area for a certain period of time to see what sort of responses and information they can get in the different areas. And that's what we're going to have them do when they come to Lilydale with us as well.
It's going to be so exciting. I think it's going to be terrific. And I think between Susan and you and I will be adding in different tools to use, personal psychic tools to use in these investigations. And I'm sure they have plenty of tools that they're going to introduce in their study. So I think it's going to be a great week.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
it's a learning.
And on November, I think it's the 22nd, they're coming to my center to do a class on paranormal investigation to teach people, again, what it is that they do and how they do it. These are the different tools that they use. And one of the things I love about them is if they have their druthers, they'd rather sit in a room with absolutely nothing but themselves and a recorder, because they say, you can feel it before it's going to show up on your equipment. Your body picks up on all of these different things.
Or
And,
interesting.
you get that from a whole lot of psychic investigation groups or paranormal investigation
They're
groups.
very intuitive. They're very connected.
Yeah, the other thing we're going to be doing at this investigation is we're going to be utilizing the seance room and doing some transfiguration in there to
Well,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting, I don't think most of the people here have ever experienced anything like that.
Well,
So they're gonna
why
see.
Yeah, so let's explain what transfiguration is, because I think half the people know what that is, and the other half have no idea what you just mentioned. So describe transfiguration.
Transfiguration is where you go into a darkened room, not totally black, because if it's totally black, you can't see anything. But the lighting is low, generally a red light or a blue light. And the reason the light is low is because just like the mist over the water in the morning, when the
Okay.
sun comes out, it burns away the mist. The mist that spirit uses to create a screen is easier for them to create and hold in a darkened environment. So we have a low light environment, and I'll be sitting in my cabinet and everybody else will be sitting in front of me, and spirit will hopefully come in and create basically a screen right in front of my face. And on that screen, they'll be able to project the image of different faces. So my daughter like freaks out if she's sitting in the front. If she's sitting in the back, okay, so it's just a screen. There's nothing happening to my actual face. So if you're sitting behind the screen and you're looking at me, all you see is me. If you're sitting in front of the screen, my face changes and
Yeah.
becomes not my face. So sometimes, you know, it's a man's face or it's a woman's face or it's an older face or a younger face. My eyes are closed the entire time, and sometimes people will see my eyes open. They'll see like blue eyes. My eyes are not blue. They'll see, you know, different shapes to the eyes. They'll see facial hair. So it's really an amazing experience. And I've been working, there are 2 groups that I sit with each week. And we've been working with the low light, but we've added some of the equipment that we know that the investigators usually use to make sure that the equipment doesn't interfere with their ability to create the screen and to maintain it. Because there are times where, you know, some of the equipment they use flashes a bright light, and the bright light, again, like the light over the mist over the water, it just kind of burns it away. And there are some electromagnetic frequencies that can interfere. So we're trying to find out which equipment we can have in the room that is not going to have any impact on it, how close it can be to me, and whether or not it registers the different people that come in as they come in.
Mhm.
So it's been pretty cool.
Oh my gosh. And this is all taking place in West
West Pittston.
Pittston, I can say it, Pennsylvania, which at your center. And how can people get a hold of you and see what's coming up, or how far it takes to get there, and that kind of thing?
Okay, the easiest way to find me is through my website, and that's journeywithlisa.com.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page for my meditation stuff, because not everybody who likes the metaphysical stuff is comfortable, or not everybody who likes the meditation is comfortable with the metaphysicals, the other metaphysical things. So I have 2 separate pages. So Wilkes-Barre Meditation is the one page on Facebook. The other one is, it's supposed to be the Starlight Academy for Metaphysical Studies, but there was a typo, and
Uh-oh.
Facebook won't let me correct the typo for 60 days.
Oh, okay.
So
So
it's the Starkite Academy for the next 60 days.
Sam's. Oh, well,
Yeah.
well, I feel like it's worth going down there for a good weekend study, especially with these metaphysical people coming November 22nd. So get on it with journeywithlisa.com, and they can book through there, or they can contact you through there if they're interested.
Absolutely.
And you,
We also have some folks coming in from the UK to do a trance and physical weekend in April.
okay.
And that's going to be a very intensive weekend where you're going to, one of the things that I have problems with some of the conferences I've been to, not the one that we're doing because we learned, is we don't want to just sit and listen to lectures. We want to actually do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when these folks come in from the UK in April, you're going to be sitting in the cabinet. You're going to be sitting in trance. You'll get a brief little, okay, this is how it works and this is how you're going to do it. But then you actually get to do it. And
Nice.
then or maybe that's in May. It's up on the website. And when we go to Lilydale, again, with our conference, this isn't just lecture, lecture, lecture. It is, here's some information about it. Now let's do it. And each person who comes to it gets to do it themselves and experience how it feels to do these different things.
Well, I wanted to say, I found it in the notes, trance and physical mediumship intensive weekend. May 16 to 18 with international mediums Andrew Codling and Jan Higgins. So it's in May, not April, and nice time to travel to Pennsylvania. So I know I was looking on the map saying, I wonder where she is, and I wonder how long it would take for me to get there from where I am. And I'm thinking Terry Del Aurora is the person we don't know who she is, but she that'll be in Lilydale with us June 15th through 19th. Sue Barnes, Lisa, you, me, Terry, and that team. And the team's going to be there November 22nd, right? Did I have that?
Yes.
And I have a feeling if you're listening to this podcast, she's going to have repeats. So go see what's going on at her place. And I think things are really going to really be hopping over there in no time whatsoever. So,
and we did the opening weekend with Susan. We had our art and intuition. So people got to see how, a doodle or how different ways that you can use, a pen and paper or crayon or, whatever you chose to use to create something and then be able to read from that. And I am really hopeful that you will agree to come and do something here at our center.
I would love to, and I was hoping you would invite me. So I'd like to come. So what I'm doing over to Lilydale is to talk a little bit about the basics of remote viewing, but also I'm doing the art part of remote viewing, and then the art part of soul connection with some color, and also connecting in with how to connect with mediumship through drawing faces, which is a little more intense. But we're going to, after that week is over, I'm going to stay for the next following weekend to teach even more art stuff. But I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about you and what you're up to, and physical mediumship and the energy. We're used to, I think most people are used to mental mediumship, where the medium gets up and connects with spirit, and all the work is done inside the medium, and then what you hear is the words, and if you understand them or you don't understand them. Physical mediumship, as you just talked about, the table can even tell you, you don't have that right. Yes, but other ways of physical mediumship, like you said, with the pendulum can swing, or the different tools that you use in the I did the did we do it with you? We did it with Sue there, and I think I didn't see you do it. Did you do it? But in any event, I've seen it done
at the DEM. Yeah,
the DEM. Yeah, at the DEM. I remember at the DEM. And Sue and I are going to do a demonstration together with Spirit Art Drawing on the platform. But in any event, seeing the transfiguration is phenomenal. I sat with a group, we were doing it up in Maine, and I actually saw the faces, was able to snapshot them and sketch them, and I laid them out. And as people walked through after the session, people were coming in and out for seances and things, and the transfiguration was no longer going on, but the spirit drawings were there, and they were all taken, and they were all recognized. And I think we're just having a little bit of trouble with Facebook. So I think we'll just keep talking, and I don't know why. I think we'd have to reconnect in to Facebook. I'll just have to take this out of the.
okay.
Did you see that? Can you see what happened?
Yeah, I'm trying, my thing is switching over to it. I didn't have anything on because I didn't want anything interfering with anything. Whenever we work with spirit, whether it was my camera not wanting to work when we were first getting ready, or things jumping in and out, we can blame electronics, or we can blame spirit, or we can, blame Pluto, or whatever planets are in whatever. I find generally though.
I just clicked in and out of my page, and I'm back in the page, and we're still live.
Okay.
That's why I'm not sure why. I think it's my computer, actually. So I think we're still live. and I'm just gonna have to ignore that I can't see it. So, but anyway, you started in college. This is what I guess the real question, with just wanting to have peace and calm and meditation. I'm not sure how you found that meditation calms and peace and calms and brings you to a different headset. But could you talk about your progression from getting to that point and then getting to the larger metaphysical things? I think that'd be a really awesome story to hear.
You know, we keep thinking it's going to be a nice, straight, smooth road, and it just takes you from point A to point B. And that's not how it happened for me. When I was in college, I have some empathic leanings. I don't want to call myself an empath because I have some empathic leanings. So I could feel everybody's stress and I could feel everybody's tension. So I'm sitting there trying to study. I've been studying throughout. I'm a good student, and people around me are freaking out. And I felt their anxiety, and it was making it difficult for me. So we called it talking down. We didn't know meditation. We called it talking down. So we would talk people down, and I'd make up stories, and they'd sit there and listen. And, my voice would change and get a little bit softer, and we'd take a breath, and everybody calmed down. It was like, good, you guys stay there. I'm going to go study now. And I have a little sister who was studying at Duke University a couple of years later, and she was studying in their paranormal stuff. And she would do things in class, and then she would come home and call me and say, hey, I'm going to try and send you stuff. Tell me if you can get it. Tell me what you see. We're going to use Zener cards. These are the different shapes. Let me know what you can see. So we would play with that a little bit. And then grew up, got married, had kids, life got in the way, and all of this just kind of got put off to the side. I had a friend who got me a set of tarot deck. Was like, hey, this is really great. You're going to need these. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, but thank you. And just kind of put them away. And life just kind of kept going on. And in 2003, my husband was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, and there was no cure, and there had to be a cure. So I started investigating different metaphysical hands-on healing, Reiki, IET, anything that I could possibly find to try to help him. And what I learned was a very important lesson, that even if we can't heal the physical ailments, we can ease some of what they're going through and heal some of their emotional and spiritual stuff. After my husband passed, my daughter, who was young at the time, was still talking to him. And people were telling me that she needed to be hospitalized, or she needed to be medicated, or she needed to be whatever. And that was probably the push I needed to get me out of my own head and my own grief, to say, get away from my kid.
Good for
There's something
you.
else going on here. I'm going to figure it out. We're going to take care of it. And that's when I started looking for someone who could teach me to teach her.
Okay, oh, beautiful, beautiful.
And that got me on this path. And I started studying again with Gloria in the Poconos, and that lasted until my little sister got sick and died. And then Gloria said to me, listen, you need to stop coming here. I'm like, but I like coming here. She said, yeah, but you're done. I'm not going to teach you anything else. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to start going and doing.
Oh, this is interesting, because I was thinking she said you shouldn't do this anymore, but she was actually saying you need to go out and do this now.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a big push out of the nest, right?
it was. It was. And she was great, because it wasn't that I was creating competition for her. I was lighting another light a little bit further down the road. And she said, we've got to get all these lights lit. There's got to be places for people to go and, go and do it. And she has been amazingly supportive over the years. She really has.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so I started doing it and became very involved and was taking every single class I could possibly take, learning as much as I could. I started teaching. There's not a whole lot around here. So, we don't have a spiritualist church. We don't have centers.
Okay.
So I started doing it here in somebody else's center. And then in 2021, I decided I was done. I had taken it as far as I could go. I was looking for something. I didn't know what it was I was looking for, but I knew I hadn't found it.
Okay.
So I was in Lilydale and we had just done a weekend workshop teaching Reiki
Okay.
and went into the forest and was over at the stump and we did a healing service with just our friends. And at the end, I hadn't told anybody. At the end of it, we stopped at the entrance to the Leland Woods and took a selfie, walked back to the hotel. I was fully planning to pack my bags, go home and put all this behind me to find what else it was that I was supposed to be doing because this wasn't it.
Wow.
We looked at the picture and in the picture, you see one of my friends who was with me, and my husband standing right next to me.
Wow.
And I said, okay, maybe I'm not done. Maybe I just need to take a different path.
Okay.
And that's when I started investigating physical mediumship and spirit photography and started going to physical seances. And, my first physical seance was, oh, this is all baloney. It can't possibly be real. It can't possibly be true. It's a
Yes,
game, it's a fake, it's a,
I
something.
that's where physical mediumship is right now. It's an old thing, but it's coming back and people cannot believe it. This is cannot possibly be true. So how did you figure out it was true? What happened?
The experiences I had in the seances, I wasn't able to explain. I got a really good rational mind, but I couldn't figure out how it was done. And I YouTubed stuff and I did investigations online and I talked to different people and I started going to different mediums who were able to do similar things. And I'm like, wait a minute, is this something you can learn to do? And there's one school of people who says, no, you're either born with it or you're not. And another group of people who says, well, yes, you absolutely can learn how to do it. It takes
Yeah,
time, it takes practice, it takes patience,
it does. It really does. Yeah. But
and not everybody can do all of the same things,
well,
and you shouldn't.
I always thought the way that I see it, and maybe you could correct me because I'm not big. I mean, I'm stepping into physical mediumship, just a baby steps right now. But from my observation is that as you work with spirit, there are certain gifts that you develop. So you don't necessarily have all the gifts that everybody else has. You have your gifts. And I've seen last summer, I saw Susan doing physical mediumship. I saw another fellow from Scotland do it. I saw the couple that was there. It wasn't Bill. Who was the name of the couple that was there that did the physical mediumship? Um, but
Oh, that
Virginia,
was Bill Bolton and Sue, oh my
so that was
God.
Bill Bowles
It was Bill Bolton, not this past year, the year before.
the year
This
before.
past year, it was Michael Shane and Julie Adriani.
Yeah, Julie Andrew and Michael Shane, because Bill Bowles had just passed just a
Right.
month got there. And there was a lot of really amazing stories about what Bill Bolt brought through, and everybody was bringing through something different. Some were app hoarding, some were just facial changes, some were working on voice boxes, just in having and bringing what voice boxes mean. There's an energy outside of your voice box, and the voice was coming through that, so the medium wasn't speaking at all, which is amazing. I love that.
Yeah, there's a very famous uh, medium Leslie Flynn, who was able to create, or spirit was able to create a voice box out of ectoplasm just to the side of his throat. And you could hear, he recorded all of his sessions, and you could hear him speaking in his voice at the same time as spirit was speaking in their voice. And you can, when spirit does that, they don't speak in your voice, they speak in their voice.
You could be talking at the same time. The medium could be
Yes.
they've done. That is so cool. That is so cool. Now, just for those who don't know what ectoplasm is, because it sounds like Ghostbusters, that it is a energetic, and people have gotten some ectoplasm and put it on a microscope. It's an energetic, but it's also from the medium's body. They found that there were actually some mucous membranes. There were some cells in the ectoplasm, believe it or not. So what do you? That's all I know about that. But what do you know about ectoplasm? What have you learned?
Okay, what's really cool is for anybody who's watched Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd's family were spiritualists. So a lot of the terms that they used in the movie were terms that were actually being used by spiritualists to be able to describe some of these things, including ectoplasm. So, you know, when they say, "Oh, I got slimed," and you see all of that stuff on their body, you know, that's a gross exaggeration of it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it is. When we do the table tipping, it's really cool because as you've got your hands on the table, people, no matter how hot or cold it is in the room, will notice their palms are damp and they're sticking to the table because there's a moisture there. There's like a membrane that forms.
Okay.
That's the ectoplasm.
That's the ectoplasm. Okay. I didn't realize that. I thought we were just
Yeah.
getting some working on it. Oh, wow.
No, that's spirit coming in and pulling some of that energy out and using that energy to move the table.
Okay. It's a miraculous thing. It's a phenomenal thing. And I also know that a lot of people can't hardly believe it. So there's a lot of people that will say some really harsh things about physical mediumship. So you want to kind of protect it. It's not for everybody. I felt like when we did do some of the work in, you brought these stand-up tents. I'm gonna get one. And we sat in this dark space. And I felt like it was a very tender space. Like I wouldn't want just anybody in that space. I would want somebody who really was respecting what was going, whether they wanted to do it or not, they were respecting what was going on. Because I feel like the medium's going into a very vulnerable space. And I'm not talking about somebody who's trying to fake it to make it. That's not what we're talking about. When you actually are developing it, there needs to be some safety, some respect, some could you talk a little bit about that and doing that kind of work?
Yeah, when working, doing cabinet work, doing trance, and then moving on from that to the physical, you have to have a trust and a comfort level on both sides. First, in the room, you've got to be totally confident that the person in the room who's in control while you're in trance and you're not totally aware of what's going on is totally in control of the room. They're not going to let somebody, you know, turn on a light or startle you or anything like that. They talk in a gentle tone and they keep everything, you know, copacetic on the outside of the cabinet. Inside the cabinet or the tent or the box or the screened in area or whatever you're using, you, the medium, have to have a comfort level with spirit because, you know, people are like, "Ooh, are you getting possessed or whatever?" It's like, no. What you're doing is basically connecting, blending your energies, and then allowing them an opportunity to use the microphone. You're still there. The microphone's still yours. The voice box is still yours. The energy is still yours. You're just allowing them an opportunity to speak through your microphone. You're still holding the mic. They don't come in and possess you. They just
No, they
kind of stand next to you and talk. So when I'm doing mental mediumship, they're standing right here and talking, or they're standing right here or over there. When I'm doing physical mediumship, they're merging in with me. And I can feel like our shoulders become one shoulder. And that's as
Okay.
far as they get. It's not like they come into me. And then they share their thoughts more easily and more fully, so that when I'm speaking, and I hand off the microphone. People who are watching it, and you can see we use an infrared camera on all of my stuff to show that, if anything happens, it happens. It's not because I'm doing it.
Right.
But my face will change. So you get the transfiguration going on. The voice changes, the syntax changes, the pitch changes, the wording changes. They don't put words together and sentences together the same way I do.
Okay.
But it's a shared energy. But you've got to be comfortable with who you're sharing that energy with. So
Mhm.
before you even take that step, there's a whole lot of people talk about protecting themselves or setting up a shield or doing all this, whatever. Everything is intention based when you're dealing with spirit. So if your intentions are that you're only going to work in the light, that only good is going to come to you, that only good is going to, come through you, that you are surrounded by light, that the energy of love. When love comes close, you don't shy away from it. When something, and you can't fake it in that way, your energy is at its purest form. So if the energy coming at you is not in that loving atmosphere, you can just say, no, you're in charge, and you can kick them right out. So the energy has to be on a similar frequency to you and be at a loving place. And the guides that we work with are all coming from that loving place.
Sweet. Oh, they are so sweet. Yes, they are. Yeah. Yeah. It
It's
really
kind of like the unconditional love you get from your dog, you know? And there's never any doubt that your dog loves you. They always, come running to you when you come into the house. It's that same kind of a blending and meeting when you're with your guides in the cabinet. So
right.
there's no fear there. There's no negativity there. They're not trying to take over. They're just trying to share information and allowing us a glimpse into more than what our world is right here.
I love that experience when in watching people work in the cabinet and trance and you and everybody else who's done it, where they're bringing a slice of heaven a little bit closer, what it is on the other side, what they're experiencing, what their thoughts are about it. And it's very amazing work, and I feel like it's very tender work. And if I was going to invite my friends, there's only a little few of my friends I would invite because it's very tender work. And but if you're doing mental mediumship and you have a lot of skeptics, well, you deal with it. But when you're really turning yourself over to spirit in that way, there needs to be an audience of deep respect. And you can criticize later when it's all over with, but while it's happening, it's a beautiful exchange of energy.
Yeah.
When I watched all of you work, and then when I had the opportunity to work myself, it was where I went. And when spirit came forward, talking was a totally different, otherworldly experience. It was lovely. It was very loving, very caring, very warm, and I felt transported. And I said, "Geez, I'll just do this on my own. I don't need to have anybody around. I'm just really enjoying myself here." But that's I love sharing this because this is the part of mediumship and spiritualism that's been gently growing, and there are many spiritualists who are also very skeptical about the growth of this. But I feel like people like you and Sue, and I'm so sorry Bill Bolt is no longer with us, but there's many people who have been working on this very quietly for years and years, and um, it's very exciting to see it happening, see the physical mediumship happening.
What was really one of the groups that I sit with, what was really a wow moment for them, and this doesn't happen too often, was one of them had recently lost someone.
Mhm.
And my guides were able to find that person and bring that person through.
Really?
So when I was in trance, I have not yet developed the ability to do a voice box or direct voice. So they were able to come and speak through me.
Wow.
in their own words, which were absolutely not words that I would ever use. Um, relaying information, evidential information that I had no clue about, that the person who was getting the information knew. And it was a very healing experience for her, because there was some, unanswered questions that she had, and he was able to answer those questions for her. So that was
A very different
really,
experience than if you were to bring it through mediumistically versus bringing it through transwise, because their presence was, they had more presence within you. Am I saying that right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it is, it's a, every once in a while, I'll see a medium, mental medium should just start to do that while
Mhm.
they're reading for somebody or on the platform. But when you're in trance, you are totally turning yourself over to be able to do that. And it's very cool. It's very, very lovely. Um, before we go, I wanted to just talk a little tiny bit more about the spirit photography, where you took a picture and your husband was standing right next to you. Holy cow. How does that happen? You taught us a couple of tricks. Talk to me about the spirit photography.
Spirit photography is amazing. And a lot of people, when you say spirit photography, think you're talking about orbs. And, oh, I can see blue orbs, or, I can sort of maybe see a face inside of this orb, or where they use water, agitated water, and you can see different faces, or sometimes, people or animals in the agitated water in the bubbles. What the photo I have is something I have not seen others really like it,
Mm.
where first of all, it was in color. It wasn't just the black and white in the mist. It was, he had a much ruddier complexion than I do. So you could see the color in his face. Um, and we took a picture of my friend who was in there and put her face over that to see if maybe it was just her hand moved a little bit and it was just, a double exposure from the camera, and her
Right.
facial features didn't match. And then we moved my face over to it and the facial features didn't match. And then I had a picture of him. I have bunches of pictures. I took a picture of him and I put it on, and it immediately lined right up, just like a puzzle piece going right into the puzzle hole. And it was just like, that was him. I
Wow.
think that spirit makes itself known to us more clearly and more fully when we most need it.
Okay.
And I think because we were in Lilydale, I don't think this would have happened if I had just done this at home. I think
Yeah.
because we were in Lilydale, and the energy in Lilydale was there, I think there are enough people there who have worked with physical mediumship over the years, who are now in spirit, who are able to say to him, okay, listen, this is how you do it, and we're going to help you do it. We had just done the healing up at the stump, so there was a lot of energy moving there. We had, taken pictures of, a whole bunch of orbs in the clearing by the stump. But it was, I think, a combination of different things all came together in the right way at the right time to enable him to do that.
It's
But
beautiful.
that being said, in our class last year, we were able to put up a black cloth. We used a smoke machine and just
Yeah.
blew smoke across the black cloth and saw faces within that. Not just because our brains were trying to create a face out of different shapes, but actual faces. And the coolest one of that was one of the women who had taken the class, um, had previously taken a Meet Your Guides class earlier in the day or earlier in the week, and had met one of her guides and got a bunch of information about that guide, and in her mind's eye saw what that guide looked like. In the photography class, she got a picture of the guide. So she took, we were all taking pictures of all the smoke as it went by. She saw the picture of her guide in it, pulled that, pulled a picture of her guide that she had found online, put them next to each other, and you could see the two of them were the same person.
Oh, that is thrilling. That's beautiful. When I took that with you last summer, you had the same black cloth in the steam machine. I had to get myself a steam machine, but she I took a picture and there was a spirit kind of coming out of the fireplace. The black cloth, I don't think quite covered the fireplace or something like that. Just this little light coming out. And then another group of people went, and a woman, I mean, I can't remember if it's another woman, probably came up with the same image, only a different position or something. I don't have hers and she doesn't have mine, but you were going, look at that, look at that. It was really exciting. But they were peeking around and saying hello. And that's another place Lily Dale's really good for, is those earth spirits. Which
Another thing that had happened in there was a guy named Jim who was helping us out. And we did one puff of the smoke when Jim and I were sitting next to each other in front of the fireplace. And Jim was just sitting there like, I don't know, we're just sitting here, right? And the way the smoke came across put a guitar in his hands. And it was
guitar.
very clearly a guitar. And I looked
Wow.
at it and I looked at him and I said, do you play the guitar? And he said, I do. Why? He said, look, here's a picture of you holding the guitar. He's like, that's weird. That even looks like my guitar.
Well, Jim, keep practicing. Keep playing the guitar. That is crazy cool. So there's a lot that spirit has to say to us.
Yes.
We're talking about so many different ways that spirit can come and communicate with us. And if somebody maybe isn't doing all of these big things that you're doing, or Lily Dale, how would you advise people to listen to spirit, to pay attention to how physically we could be having spirit communication?
There are bunches, I haven't counted, of classes for physical and mediumship development. I teach one here every Thursday night. There are people who teach them online, and just be careful, because if you're going to take a class, just make sure the teacher knows what they're doing.
Okay.
If you don't have a teacher and you're just sitting there all by yourself and you're looking for the ability to connect a little bit better, to be able to feel or see or hear or experience, set some time. Okay, spirit's got an afterlife. They've got things that they're doing. So when they try to connect with us, they usually do it at a time where we are distracted, when there are less distractions coming in. So when you're falling asleep at night, when you're vegging in front of the TV, when you're doing something mindless like washing the dishes or things like that, that's when spirit finds a way to kind of like sneak in. But if you set a time and an intention, Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, I'm going to sit for 15 minutes. I'm just going to sit. Doesn't have to be for hours. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is really the least. If you go 5 minutes, it like cuts things off too quickly, because you need to calm yourself down. But if you can just sit for 10 minutes once a week, that gives you an opportunity to start experiencing things. But like you were saying before, different physical mediums have different gifts, that, different ways that they're able to express the physicality of the mediumship. We as mental mediums also have different gifts. Some people see, some people hear, some people feel, some people just know. So, some people are more clairaudient, so they can hear, but they want to be more clairvoyant, so they want to see. But you got to start working with the tools, the gifts that you're given first, before trying to develop the ones that are not so easy for you. So if you take those first minutes to just sit and see what you experience, notice how you experience it. Do you feel it? Do you see it? Do you hear it? Do you just know? And as you do it a couple of times, you'll notice you keep experiencing things in a similar way. And that's how you know what your strongest clair is. And once you know what your strongest clair is, you start working to build that up.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's great advice. Thanks for that pieces of wisdom. And we have to bring this to a close. I'm so glad we could talk about this for hours. This is terrific. And I want to remind people that your website is journeywithlisa.com. And this is Lisa Mandell. Please look her up, whether you're going to call her or not. Lisa offers a lot of classes. Do you offer private sessions as well, Lisa?
I do, yeah.
So journeywithlisa.com. I bring people to this podcast that are available and are willing to work with you and are excited about what they're doing. And Lisa is one of them. So please take advantage of and get to know her. And Lisa's going to help me connect with this team from the Wyoming Valley Ghost Tour. Maybe they'll come and talk to us on one of these episodes. I would like Lisa's going to come back later in the spring, I think. And we're going to set up a date and have her talk about some more things. I'd like to talk about tea and tarot. But in any event, this has been a lot of fun. And I want to actually ask you guys to, stay in your spiritual self. Pay attention to your intuition. Pay attention to what spirit is trying to communicate with you, so you can stay in the grace of your soul and spirit and move forward in beautiful ways that are so needed in your life and everyone's life around you. So for now, stay in grace, stay safe. Do you have anything, Lisa, to add?
Just thank you for allowing me to be a part of this with you tonight. And thank you all for watching and joining us. And I wish you a blessed night.
Thank you so much. And that's the session for this time. And next time, more grace is coming.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.